The aim of the Fiduciary Duty in the 21st Century project was really to end the debate about the inclusion of ESG factors in fiduciary duty. The academic evidence overwhelmingly shows that this is not about giving up returns. Well, there's certainly been more attention from policymakers around ESG issues, and we're now seeing it come into more policy issues. There's more than 500 policy instruments where we're seeing some requirements or encouragement of ESG factors. I think that's a really good move, and I think that we'll only see more in the coming years.
The financial sector plays a central role to bring our economic model to a more sustainable pathway. This issue calls for bold public policy responses, and it should drive the action of all decision makers, either public or private ones. We may well be the last generation with an opportunity to act.
The ambitious action plan of the European Union on financing sustainable growth. We have decided to intervene with 3 legislative proposals. The 2 of them have been already politically agreed. The first one is on disclosure by institutional investors and asset managers how they comply with fiduciary duty, and making sure that those investors who are selling their products sustainable disclose how they have come to the conclusion that their products are sustainable.
The new IOP directive is already integrating so-called ESG factors and ESG risks. This means for pension funds as socially responsible institutions to take on a stewardship role.
The law of fiduciary principles has been and will continue to be flexible and accommodate a wide range of different approaches. What you need to be is rigorous. What you must have is an explanation for the choices that you made.
With regards to the debate about fiduciary responsibility, I'm hoping that this is going to come to an end just by looking at the facts. Companies need to be ready. Companies need to be ready now in order to be able to position themselves for a tighter carbon future. It's not an option, and those that are not ready are going to be facing financial constraints, financial difficulties. So it's time to act, and to me that speaks for the fiduciary responsibility. As asset owners, we have a role to play to push this all in that direction.
Not unlike other countries, Canada doesn't think we are really maximizing the use of sustainable finance. It's really a systems approach. So there's role for government, there's role for investors, there's role for regulators, there's role for citizens, and really, no one's waiting for each other. We all need to start moving ahead. Our environmental and economic aspirations need to become one and the same.
The conceptual debate around whether or not fiduciary duties preclude ESG issues is over. Fiduciary duties require ESG integration. But the work is not complete. There are still jurisdictions that do not clarify in law the requirement to integrate ESG issues in an investment decision. In addition, we are now starting to think about the role that investors can play in influencing ESG outcomes. So less how the ESG factor affects the investment decision, and more how the investment decision affects ESG outcomes.
If we look across the globe, we do see, in some cases, some quite stark differences. So if we look in the EU, we've seen the outcomes of the EU Action Plan, we've seen the development of the taxonomy. If we then look in other countries of the world, particularly in the US, we see at the moment that in actual fact, some regulation, some codes, some policies are going backwards. So there is great variation, and I think for investors, what we do need to see is more harmonisation around the world on sustainability issues.